Hey guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin, and The Last of Us Episode 6 is out on HBO Max right now. I was about to say Disney Plus. That ain't the case. If that was the case, this show would not be as good as it is. So before we get into it, these episodes do have spoilers. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, go watch it and come back. I will also mention some stuff from the game that happened, and I'm not talking about like what happens later on, just mostly like for this episode, saying the differences, or saying like, that's from the game, or something along those lines. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the game either, that's like kind of your warning, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of your warning. And let's get right into the video. So coming off the previous episode, which ended very sadly with Henry and Sam dying, that's sort of like kind of a theme throughout this episode, is a sad theme of sort of loss, and trying to understand why certain things happen in the way that they do. And so basically we pick up with Joel and Ellie like 3 to 4 months later after that. It's snowing now. We're in that part of the game where it's starting to snow. It's really cool. And honestly, the set pieces for this, like them in the middle of the woods with snow, it looks really good. It honestly, it's probably because it's real, but it's just like the way it's shot, like the cinematography, the wide shots, all look great. And honestly, I really like this episode. I thought this episode was a lot of fun. It's like a really slow episode, so nothing like crazy happens with like infected. In which the thing is that I'm just kind of like, where are the infected? Because they aren't really a thing at all anymore in this show. Because in the game, you're running into infected left and right, and that's mostly for the players. But there's still a factor. And it seems like we haven't really run into any of them, besides the previous episode where that huge herd came from the ground, which was really cool. But even then, is that there's like maybe a couple of infected that you run into on the way that you have to take out. And so seeing that would be cool. And so that's kind of like a nitpick or a negative point to look at. And it's like, why do these guys not have any struggle when I'm the one going off and dying left and right because I can't know where the fucking clicker is, and so you guys are getting it easy. So it's just, I don't know, it's a little bit more realistic in that way, but it's also sort of explained that there is no affected at where they are at, because there's a group out there that killed all the infected and also kills off people that they might think are bad. And so but they aren't even near that really. I'm talking about like mostly the before they even get to that, because before they even cross the river, they didn't even cross the river yet. So the infected side of it could be like there could still be some form of affected around there. So we meet some of new characters like Maria, who is Tommy's wife, which Tommy is played by Gabriel Luna, the guy from Terminator. I don't know if I mentioned that in my first episode that I'm familiar with a film that he was in. He's a lot better here, I gotta say. There's a lot of good emotional scenes with him in here. So basically, Joel and Ellie are basically like, tested on with a dog. It's like, because this dog can smell if you're infected, and if it does, it'll attack you. So that's an interesting thing. And they tried it on the little girl, which I believe the guy on the horse is Troy Baker, the one that was telling, pointing the gun at Joel and Ellie. I think that's Troy Baker. I saw his face looked like Troy Baker, and his voice, but I could be wrong, because Troy Baker is supposed to be with a different has a different thing going on in the series. We'll get to that when we get to that. I'm pretty sure it's very soon, more sooner than you guys think. But it's just, for some reason he looked like Troy Baker. I might be wrong, but yeah. And so that's it. But yeah, if that dog smelled sort of smelled like the infectedness of if the dog smelled and knew that Ellie was infected, which she is, she has a bite, but we're not really clear on what condition that she really has. Like, we know that she's immune, but doesn't mean that the fungus is still inside her, or is it dead? I'm pretty sure by now it's dead, because the way that the world is explained is that the fungi needs a host to survive. So I'm pretty sure since it couldn't really attach to Ellie, it's probably dead, so the dog probably couldn't smell it. And I'm pretty sure that's how it's explained, and that's kind of like my thought how it happened. But yeah, it was a very intense scene, and it's like, it's like good thing that didn't happen, because if you see a girl get attacked by a dog, a lot of people are gonna freak out. But yeah, they get taken to the town, which I don't know why I can't remember the town. What, Jackson? They get taken to Jackson, and which isn't something that we really see in the first game. It's mostly in the second game where the game opens up. It's like, oh, here's Jackson. You get to walk around it. Here we explore a little bit more of Jackson, and we actually and the episode takes place in Jackson mostly. And it's not, and in the game you go to the dam, which is the dam that you see, but in the game it's mostly for the player to do something, because they decided to have the dam not functioning well, and they're dealing with raiders. And at that moment, while Joel and Ellie are there, they get attacked, and mostly just for the players to go bah bah bah, die type of deal. And I was like, are they gonna do something where they get attacked or something? Because the way that things are set up, the way things are done, kind of fits a little bit better in the game, because Joel and Tommy are Joel asks Tommy to take Ellie off of his hands, and the way that it's done in the game feels a little bit more smooth. And after Joel and Tommy kill everyone, and when Joel's making sure that Ellie's okay, Tommy kind of realized this girl is important, and it seems like she's really important to Joel. And so he decides to take that mantle on and to do that. But then we lead on to other situations that Joel kind of changes his mind and such. And so in here it's like Tommy's wife Maria is pregnant, so he's having a kid, and Joel kind of feels iffy about that. And so it kind of puts that tension between them, and they get mad at each other for a couple of seconds, and they're not mad anymore. And it's like, and then Tommy just decides to take her after he figures out that she's immune, of course. But it's like when he asks is she important to you, he goes yes, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Show don't tell type of deal. We know as the audience Joel really does care, but you're kind of cutting corners when you have characters telling each other. So you're still telling the audience, hey, Joel cares, all right? So it's okay, he does care. So instead of just being in a situation where we show Joel caring, even though we really do know, but it makes it better if the characters see that as well than it just being the audience. But now Joel kind of changes his mind, so it's you can sort of forgive it in some form, and it doesn't really matter. But even that kind of feels like cutting corners, because they do the scene with Ellie and Joel where you don't know what loss is at Jackson, and the only reason why it felt weird is that she just finds this diary in this random house that they have, which I'm pretty sure that they would have cleaned out, and they would have taken a lot of those stuff and probably thrown it out or something. It's just kind of, but it's it's in the game, let's put it here. It just didn't feel genuine, and it's just I don't know. And so, and she's reading the diary, and it's honestly, the scene and the performance is great, and I just don't know how it was, the way that it was placed felt right. But overall, I did enjoy the scene, and I can sort of forgive it in some form because it is a television show, and it does sort of work in this world, the way that the television is going, because the show is still good no matter what. If you're watching this from a first-time viewer with no gaming knowledge, you're probably not going to care about my little nitpicks or what I'm pointing out. So it doesn't really matter to you. So that's why I'm like, you know what, it's pretty good, but and I might like it in the game a little bit better, but it's not bad here. It's done pretty well. It's done respectfully, and so they kind of have their little like conversation and like you're not, yeah, you're right, you're not my daughter and I ain't your daddy. Like that's a pretty sad moment in the game, and it's very intense. So but yeah, so they go on their way. They head off to Colorado to the university, and here they kind of figure out that the Fireflies have moved, and so they're like, all right, we got to get out of here. And they also figure out there's people here, and in this in this conflict that's happening, Joel gets attacked by one of the guys, kills him, but then realizes he is stabbed. Now in the game, sort of the same thing happens, but the tension of but the way that it happened is a little bit different. Joel gets knocked off of like a balcony, I guess is the way you call it, a second floor balcony, and lands on a like a metal pipe out of the ground, and so it's kind of like so it's sort of, they changed that a little bit. I guess they didn't think it would be believable in a realistic way of falling that high up and being stabbed. So that change is fine. It just kind of felt like there was like it felt more of a shocker than of like suspense, really. It's like if we saw the guy and we knew knew his weapon, because honestly we didn't even really see him with a weapon, and it's not until the point like, oh, okay, he was stabbed. Okay, well, I knew that was coming. It's just that I don't know how I like that executed wise. If it was set up more to have tension, I think it would have worked a lot better. Still pretty good. I understand the change. I don't have a problem with the change at all. It's just that execution wise for it to happen is kind of my nitpick right there for it. So yeah, Joel's sort of injured, and Bellows Ramsey's acting at the end of this episode is pretty damn good. I don't really have a problem with Bella Ramsey at all. I think she is a pretty good Ellie. I think she really works well in this series, and especially in this episode. A lot of people have a problem with her. They find her annoying, which is fair enough. At least they're not, those people I don't have a problem with. The people I have a problem with just like criticize on her having a big forehead. Those are the people that you shouldn't really listen to and don't give a shit about the reviews. But for me, I don't really find her annoying. I think she's doing a great performance. I think she's completely fine. And especially this episode that she has to be very emotional and has to cry is done really well. And you can see it, in the performance that she actually really cares about Joel. You can see that, that sort of father and daughter figure like bonding being built, and it's like, and it's like that now. And so, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next episode, which is that technically it could be the DLC, but I'm pretty sure episode 8 will be the DLC, because I think that's what they said. I'm gonna give The Last of Us episode 6 an A-. Really enjoyed it. Just tiny little nitpicks there and then. So far the show has been really good. The only episode I don't really found like a downer was episode 4, and but yeah, pretty much every episode has been like up here. Pretty good damn show so far, and they're treating the game pretty well, right, and it's very faithful to everything with minor changes. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye guys.